Hi, good evening, all. My name is Rajneesh Negi, and I welcome you all to this Mega Monday webinar. Today is a very special day, a very happy International Women's Day to all the amazing women out there. And today we are going to have a special panel discussion on the topic of empowering women changes the world. And it will be followed by the Pronto Consult Consumer Awards for February 2021. I would like to welcome my friend, Ms. Shurvi Kashyap. Uh, she is the moderator for the day. Hi, Surbi, if you can come on the screen. Surbi is a brand professional. She started her career with sales with Zimmer, and then she has worked for Biocon, Dr. Reddy's, Novartis, and right now she's based with Ingene at Bangalore. So, Surbi, thank you. Thank you so much and welcome. And please take the session ahead.
Thank you so much, Rajneesh. And hey, everyone, welcome, good evening. Welcome to our channel, PMT India Learning. And today, on the occasion of International Women's Day, we bring to you an amazing panel of women in pharma, wherein we are going to discuss around the theme of the year, which is Choose to Challenge. So I'd like to first, start by introducing the panel to you guys. Let's welcome our first panelist, Dr. Madhura Naik, a doctor by qualification with affiliations from Tata Cancer Institute. She's presently heading the medical affairs franchise for solid tumors for Novartis Oncology India. Welcome, Dr. Madhura. Wish you a very happy International Women's Day.
Wishing you the same.
Next up, we have our next panelist, Dr. Kriti Soni. Dr. Kriti is the head of formulation department at Dabur Research Foundation. She has robust experience in healthcare and is a seasoned leader. Welcome, Dr. Kriti.
Thanks a lot, Surbi. Thanks for having me today, and welcome everyone. Thank you.
I would now like to welcome our next panelist, Ms. Parul Sood. Parul is the Deputy General Manager Marketing at Zydus Group. Parul is a seasoned marketing professional and brings with her over a decade of experience in pharma industry into a variety of therapeutic areas. Welcome, Parul.
Thanks, Surbi. Very happy to be part of this today, and a happy Women's Day to all the lovely ladies out here.
Right. Our next panelist, guys, is Ms. Priyanka Tiwari. She's a group product manager with Hetero Healthcare Limited. She's a passionate marketer with robust experience in brand strategy and positioning. Welcome, Priyanka. Last but not the least, we have with us Ms. Dhara Pabari. Dhara is an MBA grad from prestigious NMIMS University, and she's leading the business development and strategy for Cipla for EU markets. Dhara has, robust experience in B2B marketing. Welcome, Dhara.
Hi, thanks, Surbi, and happy Women's Day to all beautiful women.
Right. So that's what I was going to do next. Before we start the panel discussion, I actually want to take this moment to wish all you beautiful ladies on the panel a very happy International Women's Day. You all are looking gorgeous, and I'm really excited that we are doing this. We don't do this often in pharma, but it's great to connect with all of you and take the discussion forward on this occasion. Thanks for joining, everybody. So while we have people coming in to join this discussion, just to give you a background, this year the theme for IWD, or International Women's Day as we call it, is Choose to Challenge, because a challenged world is an alert world, and from challenge comes change. Let's hear it from Priyanka then. What does IWD mean to you, Priyanka, in your work life?
Thank you, Surbi. A very warm welcome to all our viewers, and a big shout out to PMT India Learning for hosting this. It's such a privilege to be a part of this discussion. And it is so close to my heart because we are talking about Women's Day. So the world finally acknowledges and salutes the spirit of womanhood. And I wish each and every woman who is watching this show today a very happy Women's Day to you. A woman is a water powerful enough to drown you, soft enough to cleanse you, and deep enough to save you. In the words of Adrian Michael, the undeniable efforts and patience of a mother with her child, the core of a sister, and the fierce loyalty of a friendship impacts every one of us. I'm deeply honored to be the voice of these unsung heroes today. Uh, to me, being a woman equals being strong, hardworking, and successful. It means being powerful. At the same time, we are understanding, being independent. At the same time, we are empathetic, and we are equally as capable as a man. We are happy and we are very proud that we have made a lot of progress in reducing the gender parity which exists in this world. But still, we have a long way to go when it comes to achieving gender equality. To me, celebration of Women's Day also means that we all women we come together, we support each other, we help one another, and we motivate one another to achieve anything and everything that we want to achieve. Um, that being said, there's still countless women in India and in the world who are still struggling to find their voice, who are still finding it hard to be even heard. So let us honor them and support them as well, and let them know how special they are. To me, being a woman, as you will all agree, that a woman is a glue which holds the family together. We are the center of the society. We maintain the integrity of the society, and now we are now breaking barriers even in the at the professional front. We all are now contributing to the economy of our country as well as the world. It's very exciting actually for me. The world currently is on a cusp of a change, because more and more women are now pursuing careers which were dominated by men. Like, just imagine the possibility when more and more women are scientists, more and more women are in the banking and finance sectors, more women are in politics, more women are in leadership positions. I mean, this is going to be such an exciting time, the future. And we all are breaking the stereotypes, the stereotypes which have been built around women, that women are suited more for creative roles. So even in pharma we are doing that, so we are breaking the stereotype every day. So to me, International Women's Day is celebration of all of these things put together. And finally, my message to all the women, that wake up every morning, break the stereotype, and whatever you do it with a hint of grace, you do it with a tinge of smile, you do it with lots of warmth and a very big smile. So that is what International Women's Day mean to me. Over to you, Sobi.
Very well said, Priyanka. And since we are on the topic of discussing about gender stereotypes, I want to understand from you, Parul, in your experience, do you see that there are these stereotypes in pharma or healthcare sector? For instance, we often see receive a message from from agents who are hiring and hiring managers who want to say that okay, we want to hire a product manager, we prefer a female candidate, or we are looking for a sales representative, preferably a male. So do you think that these stereotypes exist in pharma, and we just want to know your thoughts on these?
Well, that's an interesting question. And, before we jump to pharma, I think it'll be very important to mention here that nationwide, in fact, worldwide, I think across industries, everybody is a little guilty of kind of skewing the gender equity balance. And, I was just going through this report by Mercer 2019, and it said that the representation of women in the pharma sector stood at 11%. It was around 14% in the manufacturing side, rose to 17% in R&D functions. When it came to corporate functions, the representation was as high as 20%, which is very good. But when it came to sales and marketing, the representation is as low as 5%. And having said that, I'm not saying that there are no women leaders in pharma. Of course, we have the likes of, the very well-respected Miss Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw. But I think it'll take a lot more women to get to that level for us to finally say that, no, there is no stereotyping. It does exist. And, it's not happened overnight. The very reason, like you mentioned, yes, it's a reality. Sometimes there are organizations, unfortunately, who have a preference for female candidates for PMT roles and male candidates for sales roles. But I think a lot of that has come to happen because we believe that possibly sales requires certain kind of skills. If we even look at some of the job descriptions that come across when you are seeking salespeople, they use terms like aggressive. We're looking out for somebody who's aggressive, for somebody who's willing to travel. And I think most of these words themselves, in a way, reflect our bias not to hire women for those roles. You don't have to be aggressive to be a salesman. Even a non-aggressive person can be an equally good salesperson. So yes, I do agree that there is a significant gap as far as women are concerned in certain roles. But having said that, this is something which can be very easily worked on. And it has to change with the change in our mindset. I don't think you need to have any special skills to be part of either sales or marketing, which are defined by your gender. You mentioned about the choice of women for sales roles. So when we talk about sales role, I think that three very, very fundamental things you need to know. What do you need to sell? What's the product? How do you need to sell it? And who do you need to sell it, right? And none of this has anything to do with you being or not being a woman. It's as simple as that. And I think it's this very simple change that we need to bring about in our mindset. Another thing is that, why it's a little difficult for women to flourish in those roles is because, again, these are industries which have been traditionally and roles which have been traditionally dominated by men. So it will take some time, for men, women, and the community at large to accept women in these roles. But having said that, and on a personal note, I want to make a comment here. Often, and studies have shown this, that sometimes women are equally good and sometimes even better at these roles. For women, I'm sure everyone here would agree that we are naturally good at multitasking, right? So for a woman who's juggling between sales, marketing, and office job, any kind of profile, switching gears is very easy. It comes naturally. So I think, yes, the bias does exist, but at the same time, the bias is very workable. And a lot of companies now are taking very, very positive steps in those directions. In this pharma industry itself, we have a lot of companies, who are taking initiatives specially focused on women, consciously hiring more women in sales and marketing functions, giving them opportunities. And I guess that's the only way around it. We need to, recruit the right talent. We need to recognize them. We need to have opportunities which are conducive to their development. And I'm sure one day this gap will significantly narrow down.
Sure. Right. Very well said, Parul. Even Dhara, even I want to clap after hearing this. Thanks so much, Parul, for highlighting this. To all the ladies who are watching this show, we want to tell you that you are capable of much more than what you think you can do. Right. So, we just want that all of us should choose to challenge all stereotypes, gender biases, pay inequality, and we should all cheer each other, going forward. And with that, now I'm coming to a very burning topic of feminism. I want to understand from you, Dhara, what does feminism mean to you, especially in the workplace? Are we saying that, we are equal means we are identical? Are we saying that, there are no differences in men and women? Or what is it exactly in your perspective?
Right. Thanks, Surbi, so much for the question. I'd like to again take this opportunity to wish everyone who could make time for this event a very happy Women's Day. And also thank you to PMT India for this opportunity that I have been given to be a part of this esteemed panel. So thank yous out of the way first. Feminism, Surbi, came to me as a gradual realization actually over a period of years. And I will tell you how that is. I grew up with a younger brother, and I must say that I was extremely privileged to be brought up by parents who never differentiated between me and my brother as a virtue of our genders. And this applied to all of the big decisions, that were taken for us, like, for example, to be in which school, colleges. Also, when I decided that, I would move cities to pursue my career, I received the utmost support from my parents. But having said that, there was a difference in the way we were both treated, and in that, I had a deadline by which I had to return home. I was told how to sit, stand, behave, speak. In fact, it was my responsibility to give my father a glass of water when he came back home after a long day at work. Okay, and none of this applied to my brother. So I slowly became aware that there was a palpable difference in the way we were both treated, although very subtle one. I slowly over a time started to believe that this comes from the patriarchy that has been ingrained in our society since centuries, where we were made to believe that men are providers and women are nurturers. This, of course, isn't the gospel truth. I mean, I'm sure we all know men who have a man who has been a single parent and who has been able to nurture their child in the best manner possible. We also, I'm sure, know of examples of women who have been able to provide for their families without the support of a man. So, having said that, I slowly started becoming aware of the patriarchy that exists. And what is unfortunate, Surbhi, is that we women sort of take this patriarchy that has been ingrained in our systems in the behavior at workplace, which is where I believe the problem starts. Now, that is the reason why you will see that in a meeting room, there will be men who will be speaking up more than a woman. A man and a woman will definitely draw different salaries for the same job that they do. There will be stereotyping that we were speaking about, with Parul mentioning that there are gender stereotypes, and that for a certain role there will be a man who will be preferred, and for a certain role there will be a woman who will be preferred. And we are all aware about the statistics that Parul spoke about, where the CXOs of the world are more men than are women, right? So for me, feminism, especially at workplace, is the need to sort of change the narrative, which is at the root of patriarchy, which is men are providers and women are nurturers, which I believe will then have a sort of a butterfly effect on the difference in behaviors and pay scales and positions between men and women. So I do believe, however, that there is a head start in this direction, like Parul was mentioning. And however, still, I believe that there is a huge gap that needs to be bridged slowly but surely. So for me, that is feminism at workplace. The need to change the narrative that men are providers and women are nurturers. That's my bit.
Thank you, Dhara. Since you made a very valid point about pay gaps, I just want to quote a stats here. Women make nearly 20% less than men. And as per latest stats, especially because of the effect of COVID that we've had, women will not be reaching equality in pay until 2059, which is really huge. And this, what the pandemic has actually further increased the gap in our pay scales. So I want to understand from you, Dr. Kriti, since you've been in leadership roles, what are your views on gender pay gaps? Do you think it exists in pharma? Do you see that the pharma sector is moving towards equal pay maybe?
Yeah, so thanks a lot, Subhi, for this question. And since everybody was speaking, I was just thinking of a very, I would say, a very small moment that we had during our bachelor's degree. When we used to study, when we used to give our exams for the bachelor's, there was a comment that our professor used to make, that there are so many women out there doing B pharmacy that this college should be declared a women's college. So it was like, we women are so good at studies. I have seen men who are not very good at studies, but they somehow excel in some way or the other. I'm not saying that they are not laborious. Some of them are very laborious. But the thing is that if I come to the part that where I talk about women being very hardworking, being able to do multitasking, as I heard some time back. So that is very true, in the present scenario. And if you give some problem solving, some kinds of problems which are very unique, a woman can come out with a very innovative solution at the very instance. So there are some things which women are good at, and of course there are, I think, only which way where I see women lack is sometimes during the mathematics of it. So as Dhara correctly made a remark that CXOs and CFOs in many companies are not women. The reason is that they limit themselves that I am not good at mathematics, I cannot understand accounts. So I somehow feel that the only barrier for women to excel in the pharma sector is their own thinking. Like we said, that there is a stereotyping, so there is something ingrained in them that women are not meant for this role, or women cannot do this better. So I belong to an organization where there is 60% task force is women. So there are scientists, they are leaders, they are heading the departments, they are running teams, they are managing the accounts as well. Because heading a department doesn't mean that the accounts part of it and the R&D part of it can move in isolation. They have to move together. So it's like I think that the only limiting factor is within us. The pay gaps, the gap between the pays is slowly decreasing, I feel. So it's not that there is from the place where I come from right now, I don't see that gap. But yeah, I truly recognize that globally or in a lot of other companies, there is truly a gap. The gap is because of the work culture or the work stresses. At times, what happens is that because of our family life or maintaining that work family balance, we need to draw ourselves back, that we have to limit our work timings because we have to devote time to the family. During the COVID times, we saw a time where we didn't have any help. We didn't have our maids, we had nothing. We had to manage the household, we had to manage the work. So it became all the more very important for us to do a lot of multitasking, not even at work but also at home. So that actually draws behind. For men, that is never a factor. You will never see I myself has never seen any man cooking and the wife taking the calls. They will say, okay, you take the call, we can eat later, not a problem. So at times husbands are very supporting. I'm not saying that none of them are, but it's always like we have to manage multiple things, and that is the reason why those gaps come in between. That is the reason why we are not able to do those working hours which men can devote. And that is the only reason where women are drawn back. Either they have to take care of their child, or they have to take care of the family. They live in joint families. So that is the main reason. And somehow I feel that like Dhara correctly said, that the culture that has been ingrained in us, that we have to take care of the family, we have to devote time to them. So even if you earn less, this is something that I think many of the women have heard from their in-laws, that even if you earn a little bit less, that doesn't matter to us, because you ultimately have to take care of the family. So we somehow try to adapt that thing, and we accept that it is okay, everybody's okay with it, and we can go about it. But I really think that if we work on the equal scale, like there is a lot of talk these days regarding providing childcare services to women at work, so that they can never worry that their child is alone at home at the help of the maid at home, and they can be very carefree at work. So that never happens, because that thing is already in their mind. Oh, my child is alone at home, I have to take care of him. So they cannot devote full attention, or they're not totally focused at times. So this eventually creates that gap. So I would say that women are the queens, which have always been taking care of everything around them. So you cannot expect all men to do it. So, and there can be a gap right now, but I really believe that with the time and with the scale that a woman passes certain milestones in her life, when the child grows up or when she is at a very comfortable position in the family, those gaps really get shrinked. So with that take, I would say that once we cross certain barriers in the life, as I can remember right now, there is a very funny creative that is being circulated everywhere, where they show men and women racing, and there are a lot of washing machines and irons in between the path of women, but men doesn't have that. So men do not have that. So it is like that, that is true. And I really feel that, the people at work or the employers need to recognize that a woman can never remain isolated with all these factions of life, because they have to do those chores, they have to do all the social responsibilities as well. And with that, they keep, bringing a lot to the table. They keep on performing. So organizations who recognize that, women leaders are always nurtured over there, and they are always, praised. So with that, I would say that although the gap is there, but I truly believe that that will improvise in the coming time.
Right. Very valid point, Dr. Kriti. To the audiences, we want to tell you that we are not saying that we don't realize the differences between men and women. What we simply mean is that those differences should not translate into different level of access to opportunities in the society, right? This is what we are trying to say here. And this brings me to another question to our next panelist, Dr. Madhura. We often understand that every woman's success should be an inspiration to another, right? And we are the strongest when we cheer for each other. So we want to understand, since you are such a young leader, Dr. Madhura, what do you think has helped you get so far in your career? What gender specific challenges or any stereotypes, that you have had to overcome to reach where you are right now?
Thanks, Subi, and thanks for the question. I think the advantage of coming so much later than the panel is that most of your co-panelists have addressed the key issues and have given really, critical points. So I think if I stop here, I think the aim of the panel is done, because, the excellent points shared by everybody. And some of it was also addressed previously, but I'll just add in my experience, and it's, as someone who's fairly new to the corporate game, and although I have kind of worked with a lot of people across different functions, coming back to the question about what did success look like for me being a woman, and how I made my way through. I think it starts very early, whether it's a boy or a girl. Your foundational years are really, really important into shaping you as an individual, gender aside. And again, I'm also someone who's been fortunate to have be brought up in a household where there was an equal opportunity, equal stress and emphasis on education, on following your dreams, on getting, access to care and encouragement. So I think that really put me in the right stead, and I don't take this lightly. I don't take this privilege as something that's given to everybody. Most women in the country still, we know, don't have access to even the basic rights, right? Right to education, right to healthcare, or even right to a voice. So I don't take that lightly in any way. I think, and if you're watching this, and if you have been someone who had access to all of these facilities very early, you should consider yourself really fortunate. So that's one part of the story. Having said that, if you look at the challenges or the biases that we all had to overcome, irrespective of which professional function we were in, I think the challenges are not sometimes in your face. They are very, very inadvertent, very subconscious, and most times pushed under the carpet. I think Dhara also highlighted some of the subtle, ways in which we were told as girls that, this was something that was your role versus maybe your sibling's role in the family. So I think, as girls, we are always sort of told that, be meek, be likable, follow a certain path, do well at your academics, don't stand out, don't take bold, risky moves. Whereas the boys growing up are, told that, you go out there, be abrasive, do what you want, follow your dream. Nothing should hold you back. Be physically strong and take your, take the road that you want to take. So I think it's very foundational with the way in which we handle boys and the way in which we handle girls growing up. So that in itself, I think, creates a huge difference in the way we approach our professional workplaces when we grow up. For me also, I think personally, I have experienced that, I shrink myself, and I've seen most women also do the same. We want to be as less noticeable as possible. We don't want to be seen as aggressive or too bold or too out there. We want to make our points known, but again, presented in a likable fashion. So now that I know that these are inherent, conditioning factors within me as I've grown up, I try to consciously challenge myself on those points. And that is something that has helped me. And in the words of Sheryl Sandberg, who I really loved reading, she's the CEO of Facebook, as we know, she said that one should go back to the young girl who was called Bossy and tell her that one day you could be a good leader. So that's what I think we need to look into. We are taking steps in the right direction, I think, as all of my panelists have said. And yeah, I look forward to a equal opportunity workplace, and it's coming up in the near future, I'm sure.
Right. I just want to say that the worst thing that we can do as women is not support each other. So, being supportive is something that we all have to do. And I want to now ask Dhara that how can women better enable each other instead of competing? We often find ourselves competing with our fellow female colleague or male colleagues also, but when it comes to a female colleague, we would want to be more supportive. So what do you think about this, and what needs to change in your opinion, Dhara?
Yeah. So, Surabhi, there was an interview of Indra Nui's that I saw a couple of years back that sort of stuck with me, which I would like to highlight here. She spoke about this situation at workplace that she had experienced, wherein, a man was giving a corporate presentation and he was sort of sweating it, and he was not able to pull it through. So they decided, okay, they take a break, and the group goes into break time, and the group of men pep up this one guy in question who was not able to pull through the presentation, saying, what's up, man, you've got this, and giving each other a fist bump or whatever. And then they go back to the presentation, and the guy seems to be doing better. And she went on to say that this definitely doesn't happen between women, and that women need to be better supportive of each other like men do. And that got me thinking as to why was it that way. And what I sort of concluded on is the sheer need that women feel to protect their own position. Now, I'm sure that we would have all seen this even at homes where, there is more than one woman playing the role of a homemaker, where women are sort of pitched against each other as to who cooks better, and, which dal is what dal. And this leads to sort of a competition. And instead of women huddling together and working as a team and saying, okay, I take care of this part of the meal, you take care of that, they sort of start competing amongst each other. And for me, all of this boils down to the patriarchy that I spoke about earlier. So coming back to the workspace scenario, I'm sure that we have all noticed in offices that there are fewer number of women who are doing the same kind of job than men in a single team. This would only lead for the women, to become more protective of their own position, which sort of hinders them from being each other's support systems. And how can they enable each other better if that is the case? Well, I would think that we need to start using the stereotypical attribute of a woman, which is being empathetic. So if we start to empathize with each other, because at the end of the day we are all sailing similar boats, if not the same, then I'm sure there would be this sort of huddling that would happen between women also, that does happen in case of men in the words of Indra Nui. This would in turn, I'm sure, better enable us to enable each other, and instead of ignoring each other's presence, and even worse, deterring each other's chances of bettering our own careers, right? But I would also like to highlight here what we need from men in this regard, right? So what we need from men is that they sort of need to drop the patriarchy, because at the end of the day, patriarchy doesn't serve men either. I'm sure there must have been some men, if not more, who would have thought that, okay, let me take care of the home and my wife makes the buck. Why not? And there needs to sort of be a shift in the way, men and women come together for this, sort of in the way how we hire, the kind of remunerations that are offered, the kind of enablement that we give for teammates, and none of it can have gender as a basis, right? So what I'm trying to say is that there needs to be a systemic and a systematic change that needs to occur. But to start with, women to get more empathetic and men to get less patriarchal, and that's how we can enable women to further their cause. Yeah.
Right. Very rightly said, Dhara. I think in this process of challenging the status quo that we want, a very critical role will be played by men, men who work with us, men who live with us. So, Dr. Madhura, what in your opinion can men do to help women achieve equality?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, and I think men also lie on various ends of the spectrum, right? They're not one kind of men. I think today the women on the panel and those watching also will agree that many men have played very pivotal roles in our lives, and probably are the reason why we are here today. So probably, I think what we need to look at is, can men identify the gap? Are they cognizant of the reasons why women are lacking in those particular departments, or those particular reasons? What is holding us back? So I think the first important thing that is going to really drive change is for men to develop sensitivity towards this problem, not to turn a blind eye to it, acknowledge that it exists. And like Dhara mentioned, it is in the benefit of all genders to be feminists, because feminism truly takes away the pressure of being in a certain role or performing in a certain bracket from both men and women. It'll be a truly freeing environment if we take off those gender stereotypes from men. They will also have lighter shoulders to carry. They can pursue their passions. Probably every man does not want to be the breadwinner of his family. So I think for men, really the first step would be the sensitivity and understanding of the gap. The second S, I think, which I really want to see more men do, and I'm not saying this is valid for all men. There are men at, again, different parts of the journey, but support is something that men need to provide very, very actively going forward to both the women in their households and also the women in their workplaces. And why I say that is, women have really made significant strides on the professional front, right? We have taken on roles that were normally not attributed to women, and we've also taken up roles which were dominated by men and have done better in those departments as well. So if I compare that to the strides that men could have taken on the domestic front, I only see baby steps. Of course, they are going forward with it, and we do see men contributing more on the home front and also on the caring and the nurturing of the family and people around him. But I would like to see more of that happen, because only then will we really bring out the best in each other. And then truly can the two genders support one another, and truly as a family, you can bring in that value, from both your professional life and your personal life. And I think something which is always said, that a woman is asking for too much if she wants to have both a fulfilling career and a fulfilling personal life. I think it's not asking for too much. It is truly possible if the men in our lives, follow the two S's: sensitivity and support.
Very, very valid points, Dr. Madhura. Sensitivity and support. Guys, men, this is what we are expecting from you, sensitivity and support. In fact, often we have seen that women are found juggling between work and home. So I want to understand from you, Parul, what would be that one piece of advice to all women you would want to give who are, juggling between this balance of work and home?
Well, first of all, my compliments to Dr. Madhura for laying out our expectations from men so clearly. It couldn't have been more lucid. I think she spoke our mind. The only one piece of advice that I'd like to give to all women who are juggling between work-life balance is that please accept the fact that there's nothing called a perfect work-life balance. Everybody would have their own definition of a work-life balance, right? There will be women who will be more career oriented and who would still be able to balance their family. There would be women who at some point of time would put family first, but still be able to manage work. So there's nothing like a perfect work-life balance. You'll all find your own way, A. The other important thing is that while you are juggling between work as well as your home, don't forget yourself, prioritize your health, prioritize yourself. As women, we almost always tend to neglect ourselves and put the interests of everybody before us. Don't forget that. Another thing that I want to mention here is that when it comes to balancing work and life, feel comfortable to talk about it to your family members and feel comfortable to talk about it to your employers as well. Whether it's your boss at work, whether it's your team at work, feel absolutely comfortable in laying out your expectations. I think Dr. Madhura or Dr. Preeti just mentioned that, when a woman wants everything, it's often considered saying that, oh, she wants everything. She wants a perfect work life. She wants a perfect, family life. All of that is possible. It's all in your mind. And the last thing that I want to say is that, develop a support system. For some of us, the support system can be our parents. For some of us, the support system can be our husbands. For some of us, the support system can be our maidservants, right? And for some of us, we ourselves can be our biggest support. So I think it's absolutely easy to balance your work life as well as your family life. You just need to accept that there's no frame in which you need to fit in yourselves. You can find your own perfect balance of work and life. Do what makes you happy. And like I've always said, get rid of those self-limiting beliefs. Again, like somebody just mentioned, that we tend to shrink ourselves, we tend to become less noticeable. We want to make a point, but we tend to hold ourselves back. Don't do that. Live your life to the fullest, and you will naturally find your perfect work-life balance.
With that, I want to ask Priyanka, which women are you inspired by in and around you? Any global or local leaders, or anyone, any women who've been inspiring you? We'd like to hear about it.
Okay, so there are so many women who inspire us, I mean, day in and day out, but I have two, three women in mind. I, in fact, follow so many women leaders on LinkedIn page, because every time I see a woman at a leadership position, I just follow her because I want to know her story. There's so many women, but of course it starts right at home, when we are young, when we are children. So when I was very young, my nanny used to tell me a lot of stories. So she's one lady who really inspires me. She got married at the age of 14. Okay, and she had my mother at the age of 15. And this was so many years back. And still she completed she pursued her education. She completed her post-graduation, and she was working as a principal of a school for many years. So that was one such a motivating story for me, because in those times when women did not have opportunities, little opportunity that she got, and she really, in spite of having children, married so young, she really made it big. And that was the first motivation I got when I was a child. Then later on, this is on a different subject. I came from school one fine afternoon, and I was watching TV. There was a tennis match going on, and I did not know tennis. I was very young, but I saw two women were playing. Okay, and then I saw that one of the women, they won. It was a Wimbledon finals, and Steffi Graf was playing, and that afternoon changed a lot for me, because that was the first time growing up I saw women pursuing sports. And when I saw her, holding the trophy when she won that Wimbledon, it was amazing for me. That changed everything, because we was used to seeing only cricket at home, only men playing, and that was the first time I saw women playing. And that afternoon, still I recollect. I still get goosebumps when I think about it, because that really inspired me. And 2 decades later, so many women are now pursuing sports as career. So which was not very much prominent back then, but now a lot of us are into sports, and we are taking it seriously. And of course, as Parul ma'am mentioned, Miss Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, I really admire her. I am a biotechnologist by education, and when we were looking out for jobs, uh, the only biotechnology company that we knew was Biocon, and she was the only lady that we were aware about. So I read an article about her, and I saw that she has pursued her career in brewing. She studied malting and brewing, and this was way in 1970s, and she was the only lady in her class, only woman in her class, and she topped her class. When she was looking for job opportunities, she worked in few brewing companies, and then she wanted to shift base to Bangalore. And she was told that brewing is a man's job, so we would not be, giving you job in this kind of professional setup. So she started Biocon in a garage in Bangalore, and now we all know that Biocon is a multi-million-dollar corporation. So that is again a woman who really inspires me. So many women, and we've been talking on this subject, and every day I go to work and I'm amazed by the things a woman can do. She wakes up in the morning, she makes lunch, she's exercising, she's coming to work, she's going back home, taking seeing her children's homework and overlooking everything else at home. My God. So all the women who are juggling so many things together, I admire all of them. So hats off to you, all the women. Everyone inspires me, actually, all women around me.
Very well said. Every woman inspires us. And since we are on the subject of inspiration, I want to quote Barack Obama here. He once said that for 2 years, if every nation was run by a woman, we would see an improvement across the board on just about everything, from living standards to outcomes. So, with that, probably the last question for our panel today to Dr. Kriti. How can we mentor women to dream bigger and to build a long-term career plan?
Yeah. So as you said that, just wanted to add one thing to that. During the pandemic, when we had lockdowns and everything, I saw something in the news that nations who are led by women prime ministers or women in their cabinets are doing very well in managing or coping with corona. So they could relate that, women can do the disaster management also. So there are so many things that we add value to and we bring to the table, and it's very important when it is being acknowledged by people all over the world. So, so coming to the question, as you said that we how can we mentor women? So one of the big problems that I've seen in the day-to-day life as I speak is I lead a department and I have 100% female employees. There has been a time when they were getting married and they could not cope with the work, so they said that we will have to leave the job because we have either to relocate or we have to go. So I have always told them that you don't compromise your career with marriage. Marriage is a very vital part of it, but you have to make your partner understand that even if I'm leaving the job right now because of relocation or XYZ factors, it doesn't mean that I won't work. You need not make another person habitual that you will be staying at home. Then why your parents taught you, why they spend so much money or leave the money aspect, why they spend so much effort trying to make you educated. So I still remember that when I was into the bachelor's and I was getting my degree, I was told by my father that you
I think we've lost Kriti. But while she joins us back, let's take one question here. I think it was to Parul.
Sorry. Am I audible?
Yes, sorry, Kriti. I think we had lost you. You can continue.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. So I was saying that when I started my education, when at the bachelor's level, so my father used to tell me that girls have to do a lot of things, and you go into teaching. You either do a PhD and go into the teaching, opt for the teaching career, because it will make your life easy. You come back home at 5 and you will be at ease. You can manage your family. So I always used to think, okay, now I've been tuned in like that. So like everyone said, that we have been ingrained with that thought that we have to manage the families and do the household. So I thought, okay, I'll do it. But as soon as I started recognizing what I want from life, I said that no, I cannot do that. That is not my interest. So I want to go into the industry. Even till date, I am being told by a few people, at times that, oh, it must be very hectic. The industry is very hectic. Why don't you come back to the academia? So I always tell them that is not right now my interest, and this is something that I'm coping up well with. So coming to the mentorship, I would say that a girl has to realize at the very beginning that what is their interest. I'm not saying that people who just drop out of education or after doing the bachelor's or the master's, they do not do anything. It's all right for them. That is their interest. So it is up to all the females out there what they think is right for them. But it's very important to always mentor them in such a way that they realize that your potential or your enigma lies in this way. So you have to explore that. do not always resign to what society is teaching you or what society is telling you, that you do this or that. This is something that I really, feel when I see my employees working and, around, and they always retire to the fact that, okay, my family is not being supportive, I not come to work. And they just do not, they keep the interest of the family or the others at the front. And they just, feel like, they have retired to that part that they cannot do that thing that is of their interest. So that this is the reason why you see these days that many women start off at a very late age. So they take a long break in between while managing the families, and then they, pounce back and they resume their roles. So I believe that, there is a lot of need that the mentoring has to be done from a very tender level, so that they understand that, this is of your interest and this is not of your interest, and they utilize their energy in that particular way. That and we, as if we are mentoring someone or we know somebody who come to us for help, I think as you said that, we have to support each other. It's our duty to tell them that, this is good for you, this is not good for you. Don't just get retired to what society is saying. Just stand up for your thing and just go about it, because you have a lot of potential. You are capable of doing lots of things together. So it's very important that we own it and we prove it.
With that message to stand for yourself, we've come to the end of our discussion today. I want to apologize to all the audiences. In the interest of time, we'll not be able to take any questions at the moment, but we'll surely request the panelists to kindly reply to the comments in the comment section. And I want to thank all the panelists for taking time out today from their busy schedules. Thank you so much, ladies, for being there. And thanks to all the audiences for watching. Do like, comment, share with all the wonderful women that you know. Please subscribe to our channel, PMT India Learning, for more content like this. I would now hand it over back to Rajneesh.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
You're on mute, Rajneesh.
Thank you so much. It was an amazing session. I mean, we were all blown away. You can read the comments that are coming for you people, the thoughts that you shared with the audience today. It was amazing. So thank you so much. It was a lovely panel to have here. Thank you, Surbhi. Thank you, Parul. Thank you, Dara, Dr. Kriti, Priyanka, Dr. Madhura. Thank you so much. It was wonderful having you.
Thanks, Rajneesh. It's
Thanks,
an equal
Rajneesh.
pleasure always.
Yeah, thanks for inviting all of us, and I hope that we must have shared thoughts which were very important for people out there. Sometimes we are always looking for revalidation or sort of things, and it's always good to hear from someone who can offer that advice. So thanks a lot, lovely ladies out there. Happy Women's Day once again.
Thank you.
Happy Women's Day, everyone. Thank you.
And I would request the audience to please stay here. We have now the Pronto Consult Award, Pronto Consult Consumer Award. If Dr. Hari has joined us. Dr. Hari, please switch on your mic and the camera. It was an amazing session. I was just blown away by the thoughts that these wonderful ladies shared. And it's always good to listen to what the women they are saying and what they have in mind, because the viewpoint of the men and the women, they are very different. So welcome, Hari. Hi, good evening. Thank you for joining.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
So Dr. Hari has joined us today. Dr. Hari is from the Pronto Consult, and he'll be taking the Pronto Consult Consumer Awards for February 2021. And he will be sharing with all of you insight of the pharmaceutical industry's performance in the last month. So Dr. Hari, if you're there, please join. In the meanwhile, I would just like to tell the audience that they can share their feedback, questions in the comments section, and our panelists will be answering you if you have any queries. Hari, I think you are on mute, Hari.
I'm
Right.
just sharing my screen. So good evening,
Yes.
everybody. So are you able to see the screen now?
Yes, we can see.
So good evening, everyone. So it's been a pleasure to be back again to present the Pronto Consult Awards for the second time in a row for the month of February. Before we go ahead on that, definitely wishing you all a very happy Women's Day. So 8th March is a day which comes every year, but every day a woman plays a very important role in everyone's life. So saluting the indomitable spirit of all women, it's for today and tomorrow, irrespective of the day. Women's Day, as you see in the screen, it's just not one day, it's every day. And it was really amazing to see the panel and the way that they spoke in terms of clarity, and in the way they spoke, it was really a wonderful session. I wish it could have continued for longer time, but I think time constraint prompted you to cut short it, but definitely it was worth attending the session. Just to give a little background about ourselves, so we are Pronto Consult Market Insight. So we have been in the business for last now close to 3 years. 2018 is where we started. So we specialize in offering long-term solutions across organizations and across the geographies with multiple clientele across Indian and multinational companies. And our consulting, which we do, which goes much beyond the data part. So in terms of broad spectrum, in terms of four specializers in data analytics perception that we call as Pronto Reach, predominantly specializing in competitive intelligence and reach studies, and then coming to Pronto Distribution, which is into distribution, and then comes to Pronto Secure, which is for track and tracing in the value chain and providing brand-to-brand protection and consumer insights, and finally, what we have is called as Pronto Access, which we specialize in bringing SAP programs and webinars from leading multiple educational sources like your ASCO, ADA, and AHA kind of a thing into India through our knowledge partner. So these are the four broad product capabilities that Pronto Consult specializes in India. And going forward, what we'll be talking about is a recent survey that we conducted, and post which we will go for the award announcement. This survey that we conducted was for the month of January, and if you see, definitely it is immunity boosters and nutraceuticals continue to dominate the presence across the country. But yes, there has been a slight decline in terms of people picking up immunity boosters and products as compared to probably 3-4 months back. But we definitely saw a lot of brands containing zinc, vitamin C, vitamin D, and multiple vitamins being picked up across the country with brands like Zincovit, your Bevon, your A2ZNS, Force B, White Nurin, CZS, Limsi, Selin, Uprise D3 in vitamin D3 category. You name it. So it has been purchased by the consumers, and whether you have a prescription or not a prescription, this is what we've been seeing in terms of based on the older prescriptions as well. Retailers also clearly mentioned that they saw now there was an increase in purchase of protein supplements, powders like your Ensures and all the kind of a thing products which are being purchased by the consumers, and also the HCPs have been prescribing it amongst the brands in the market per se. Amongst gastro brands, we saw PPIs and combinations doing exceptionally well along with antacid liquids. Though multiple data points have not been announced, but AWACS data said that the market has grown around 1%, which is the fact, probably also the Feb and March effect, as you would say. But chronic and overall has grown up tremendously in terms of purchases with molecules like telmisartan, your amlodipine. We saw new prescriptions also amongst the OADs, which was like Glimepiride, metformin, and glyclazide plus metformin brands in the market. Vildagliptin amongst the DPP4 seems to make a mark on its own and continues to grow in the market, leaving probably the other gliptins behind. But Vildagliptin as a market which came off patent nearly more than a year back now, showing tremendous growth in terms of units. How 2021 is going to shape up is what we have to see from a market perspective. The other thing that we also saw in the market is that we saw now a war happening between the SGLT2 category as such, with more dapagliflozin brands being launched into the market, with multiple 35 plus brands being now in the country. So every month we are seeing that number of brands have been increasing. Earlier it was close to around only 4 or 5 brands in the market, which went up to 15, 20, and then it has now crossed the 35 mark from a market perspective in terms of launches. Derma is one of the most impacted market in terms of purchases, but we are seeing now the return of the dermatology market, and very soon we'll also be sharing a dermatologist's perspective about COVID and what she thinks about the market as we move along. Probably in this week, we'll be sharing that across the board. This is a behavioral pattern. If you see, this is a graphical representation which talks about various categories as such. From PL means your pre-lockdown, to lockdown 1.0, to lockdown 2.0 and 3.0 and so on, and then lockdown, opening up of the lockdown, which is up to the last month, which we see, we see in terms of behavioral pattern. It's emerged that focus on health has tremendously grown by 500% over the same period last year. So if you see the pre-lockdown period, there were only around 11% of the consumers who were more focused on health as a category, or they used to talk about in their households and in the different people. But now it has gone up to as high as 61% of the consumers feel that health is becoming a very critical aspect. Stocking of medicines over a period of time picked up due to the lockdown phases, but now gradually it's coming down to a normal kind of a thing. With the red one, which talks about that it went up around 81 to 87%, it went up, and now it's around 21% who have been overstocking the medicines from a market perspective. Consumption of immunity boosters, home remedies, and use of an online medium has definitely increased over a period of time. But however, the usage of online has come down a little bit, predominantly because now the shops have opened, and what the shops have also done is that they are serving the consumers. You just give a call and they serve you at home, which was not the case earlier in the PL period. So that's something which has come down in terms of online platforms, which is around 41% of the consumers say that they are still using, but it has come down over a period of time. In terms of purchase patterns, if you see across the same different phases, if you see, it has been very interesting period where cardiac brands continue to dominate, and chronic as such dominated even during the lockdown, and predominantly after the lockdown getting opened. We saw the unlock mode also picked up the cardio as a category from a market perspective, especially antibiotics and dermatology were the major impacted in the market. But now since dermatology seems to have picked up in the last few months, and which is expected to grow in the next few quarters, which has been informed us by a lot of dermatologists and also through a survey that we conducted. Hygiene as a category seen as use spurt. Chronic brand continues to dominate in the market. One classical example, if I talk about, is in terms of purchase pattern. Immunity booster as a category, if it was X, or if I say it was 1% probably appearing in the bills predominantly in the PL period, it has now risen by nearly 1,000%. So that's how the impact of immunity boosters has been on the medical bill of a consumer today. In terms of purchase pattern is what I was talking about. So if you see here, 1,160% is actually the correct percentage by which immunity boosters have started appearing in the retail bill. I'm not talking about prescription or thing. It is appearing in the retail bill. That means the consumers has purchased it, irrespective of the brand being available in various data sources, or it can be a kind of a localized brand or a generic brand. But that's how the immunity boosters has picked up by appearance in the prescription in the bill pattern. Similarly, for hygiene products, the most impacted market has been your antibacterials or anti-infectives, which has now degrown by nearly 42% in terms of appearance from a bill perspective. So definitely, this is what has been. And last but not the least, in terms of communication channels, this has also undergone a lot of changes over the previous 1 year. And now the concept is, which is your phygital or your hybrid model, along with an omni-channel approach, is that a lot of companies are working on, or certain companies are working on a waiting game per se. So how the new world will dominate or will be determined will take some time, because the companies are still adopting and adapting to it. But the interesting point and the good point is that if you see the bottom line, which says that PL, there was like 100% in terms of face-to-face meetings with the medical rep, which had predominantly gone down over a period of time during the lockdown phases, but started picking up from first phase only, but which was very much lower. But now nearly 53% of the doctors or reps have started meeting it. Though there has been a decline, but we expect that this market to grow, and definitely it is going to be a hybrid phygital model, which will be more critical as we move along into 2021 and beyond the market per se. So now we go about to the next part, which is the most important part, and people are waiting for it, is the Pronto Consult Consumer Award. So in technical collaboration with PMT India, and thank you so much, PMT India Learning and Mr. Rajneesh, for allowing us to be in a technical collaboration with you to present the Pronto Consult Consumer Award. This is an award which we are giving every month. We started somewhere in the month of November, and now we are sitting in February. It's an award based on multiple things, and the process is a 3-stage selection process. We start from nomination, voting, and review. Nomination is by the companies, followed by the voting, and voting across through a link. The link is shared across pharma companies, across field force, across retailers. Multiple people vote on it, and that's how the voting is done. And then a review by Mr. Vivek Padgaonkar, who has been instrumental in going through this review in a very, very delicate manner, so as to provide his valuable insight based on his experience from the markets. So just to introduce Mr. Vivek Padgaonkar, so Mr. Vivek Padgaonkar is an independent pharma consultant who has been working with an advisor with a lot of Indian and multinationals, and also works with APJ School, Star University in his advisory role. He was a director and with OPPI in the project and policy, and he has an association of more than a decade with them. Senior leadership professional with more than 4 decades of experience and exposure in handling managing business and delivery on commercial in sync with overall organization goals is what Mr. Vivek Padgaonkar is. I thank Mr. Vivek Padgaonkar for, I take this opportunity to thank him for being our partner in deciding the ethical evaluation from a brand perspective, from a overall perspective. So we look forward to hear from you. So this the email ID and my email ID, which is available there. So we will look forward to hear from you. And now moving forward to the next part, which is the most critical part in terms of the awards per se. So Pronto Consult in technical collaboration with PMT India presents the Pronto Consult Consumer Award for February 2021. The brands that we've talked about in this particular category, there were 5 brands which were nominated, and all the brands, some of them were bigger brands, some of them were small brands, but this time it was a very even fight amongst the brand per se. The brands gave a good fight to each one of them. At one point of time, there was only 1,000 or 2,000 votes, between 1,000 to 2,000 votes, which determined, which was the difference between the number 1 and the number 2 brand. But subsequently, the voting increased, and on overall basis, we broke another record of last month also, where we received more than 17,000 votes on the net through various sources. So we thank everybody who has voted, and also across the doctor spectrum, and also the retailers and stockists who have taken time to vote for the Pronto Consult Consumer Award. So the first award goes to the Platinum Impact Award, is proudly presented to UV Smart Matte from Mankind. This brand talks about is in the derma category, but in terms of voting across the doctors and also from the internal people and as well as from the retailers, this brand got one of the highest voting in the February 2021 Consumer Award. So definitely congratulations to UV Smart Matte for getting the Platinum Impact Award. So we congratulate Preeti Ratwani from Mankind for this award, and we wish her all the best going forward. And definitely this Platinum Impact Award belongs to you, and congratulations for the same. His boss, Mr. Ashish Sinha, also will be getting the certificate along with Preeti. Moving on to the second brand, the second brand also gave a very tough fight to the other brands from a market perspective, and Mr. Vivek Padgaonkar, who rated the brands on a different basis, this brand got one of the highest rating across categories from the perspective of the deck that submitted, in terms of activities that they did, in terms of the sources we got from the various sources like hospitals and everywhere. We came to know about this brand, and this brand really deserves this award. This brand goes to Smof Kabivan from Freshness Kabi. It's a Golden Impact Award, which is proudly presented to them. And definitely this brand deserved it, because we got a good number of votes from institutions, hospitals, though this is in a very niche category, but this brand really deserved it in terms of not only marks from the deck that is submitted, but also from the voting per se. So Sejal Gandhi, for congratulations for the award, for the Golden Impact Award, which is proudly presented to you and her boss, Mr. Dhruv Joshi. Congratulations to you and the entire Freshness Kabi, and definitely Mr. Vishwadit Karandikar. Congratulations to you and your team, under whom your able leadership. This team has really deserved this award. And congratulations to Most Kabivan from Freshness Kabi from a market perspective. Moving on to the third brand and the last brand award from a market perspective is Winglin. This Silver Impact Award is proudly presented to Winglin, which is the brand of Vildagliptin from Zydus Cadila. So Winglin, congratulations for your award for this. So this is the second month where the Zydus brand has got an award from a market perspective. This shows really how the strength of the Zydus field force, not only from the chronic brand which they got last time, which was in Atorvastatin, that is Atorva, and now Winglin, which is the Vildagliptin. This brand is now nearly more than, I think, 24 crores, which is reflected by AVAX and growing at a phenomenal rate. I would not go by the growth, but yes, this brand has really gained not only in terms of market share, but also in terms of prescription share from a market perspective. So congratulations, Pranali Mahule, for this award, and congratulations for this. The other two brands really fought out very well, very competitively for that. Especially, I need to mention the other two brands, which was one from, one was definitely TTK Pharmaceuticals, which they have launched as Osopon Active. Though it's a new launch, and it's been just 2-3 months from a launch perspective, that brand really gave a tough running to the other brands in the market per se. But unfortunately, we can award only the top 3 brands, and that's the reason. And the last brand was Wilshire from Sinfen Pharmaceuticals, which is again Vildagliptin brand. And but Sinfen Pharmaceuticals also gave a very tough fight for the third position, and probably the difference between the brands were, in terms of the votes, were highly minuscule, and definitely the marks which was associated by Mr. Padgaonkar. So congratulations to all the winners. So it has been really a pleasure. So we look forward for the third set of now award, which will be coming in for the month of the March 2021 awards, which will be starting up, where the nominations have already begun. So we look forward to get multiple nominations for March as such. Nominations are already started coming in, but we hope and pray that product management team looks forward and gives us the opportunity to check back their perception in the market in terms of the rankings, and also in terms of what the doctors wants to convey. So congratulations to all the winners, and looking forward for the next set of nominations as we move along to the next month, somewhere in probably around 7th or 8th of April. As per the calendarization, we will definitely come back to you in terms of the date for the announcement of the same. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Hari. Thank you. It was wonderful, and congratulations to all the winners. And it's a wonderful achievement. And Dr. Hari, thank you. You are always wonderful to have you and to listen to your insights, right? And I think the insight for the next month are going to be very interesting, looking at the fact that the year-end closing is also there. So we'll be waiting for those insights. And thank you everyone who has joined us today. It was wonderful to have you. Once again, a very happy Women's Day to everyone. Yeah, we'll be very soon coming up.
And just one point to add to what Mr. Rajneesh is saying is the data that I shared today was exclusively for the first time shared with PMT India team. So we have not yet released it to the industry. So now we will be releasing it after now.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Hari. And thank you, audience. We'll be coming up live very soon with the new topics. And please do join us on 7th or 8th of April. We'll be confirming the date when the Pronto Consult Consumer Awards for the March 2021 will be announced. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining, and enjoy your night. Thank you.
Thank you so much.